Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. And my guest today is the CEO of Host GPO. And we have Mr. Jeffrey in the house. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Austin?
Doing good, man. We were just talking a little bit before the podcast, and I figured we got to click in here and get it going. But what I like to do with my guest, before we get talking about your business and the amazing offering that it does, sure. Tell us your entrepreneurship story or kind of either your Airbnb origin story.
Yeah. So I was a lawyer, practicing as a lawyer for a while, and I was living over here in Los Angeles. The house across the street from me came up for lease. This was, 9 years ago. And I remember reading a story in the paper about somebody doing lease arbitrage, and I was super intrigued by it. And so I decided to just give it a shot, leased this place, furnished it, and went from 1 unit to 5 units to 10 to 50 to we were operating 150 units at a time, from really luxury homes to apartment buildings that we were operating as kind of corporate housing, and everything in between. So learned a lot about the industry over that 9 year span. And Host GPO, which is the company that I run now, is really geared towards vacation rental hosts and came from a lot of the problems that I was having purchasing, furniture, linens, amenities, that kind of stuff for my own vacation rental business.
And it's interesting. I find myself these days just basically creating businesses with problems I have myself.
100%.
I'm like, that's a problem. I hate that. Let's fix that. Yeah.
Host GPO was one of, the vacation rental industry is just so new still in a lot of ways. It's way different than it was 10 years ago and way different than it was 10 years before that. But there's so many problems, and it's really emerging as this professionalized type business. Even if you're just operating 1 or 2 units, the bar that you have to hit is just a much higher level of kind of professionalism than it was before. And so all of these kind of business solutions need to exist. And this one was, one of the biggest problems that I saw and one of the biggest ways that I thought I could help the community.
It's interesting. I was reading on Twitter the other day. I follow a couple of short-term guys, and he was making a comment about institutional money is not in the space yet, but they're kind of coming in. And if you think that, this was 7 years ago, I started 7 years ago. If you think this was 7 years ago, you're mistaken. It's just not about the place or a couple of photos. It's very important that people understand that when you and I got started, it was very archaic, to say the least. I started with an air mattress. I didn't even know what smart B&B was. And then I got in a mastermind. The guy had 30 and 100, and he was like, "Wait, you're handing out keys? Stop." And it was and that's what it was. And now it's just commonplace, and technology's caught up. But good Lord, can you tell some early stories?
Oh man, you name it. My first unit was atrocious. My first 10 units were disgusting. It was used IKEA furniture, and I was running around, and I literally, I'm embarrassed to say it, but there was a bed frame on the side of the street, and I was like, this thing looks fine. And putting that in my unit, it was, you couldn't miss back then. It was impossible to miss. Yeah. You could put whatever you wanted in your place and put the listing up, and it was all a function of price. $5-10 up, down, that was making all the difference. Back in the day, nobody was dynamically pricing. If you were pricing every night differently, you were way ahead of everybody else. Nowadays, if you're not pricing every night differently, you're in trouble. And so, everything from, the early growing pains of putting terrible units together and then realizing this is really bad when a chair breaks and a guest sits in it, and then they're messaging you that the chair is broken and you got to replace it and blah, blah, blah. The headaches that come along with that, to the medium term scaling issues of, figuring out which property management software to use and what property management software is and what channel management is. And then trying to figure out like to go from, I mean, I don't know about a lot of your listeners, if they're kind of in that mid-range or, 20, 30, 40 units where you're like really starting to think about, do I need to be on booking? Do I need to have a direct booking website? What does that even look like? Like, how does the insurance work? Like those are kind of what I consider medium-term scale problems. And then the larger ones of like, I did it. I did the 24-foot, truck to the flea market, filling it with furniture, the 48 shopping cart IKEA checkout. I mean, I did all of these things to realize that like purchasing and, again, that's like part of what Host GPO is all about. But, those growing pains and all of the issues, like back then you really couldn't miss, but I learned all these things through that 7-8 years, as I'm sure you did too. And I think it's funny, 7-8 years in the vacation rental industry, it's like dog years almost, it's like we're like the old vets now in a lot of ways, which is hysterical to me. But it's a very different world now than it was 7-8 years ago.
And you still own units currently, or?
Yeah, so I don't have 150 anymore. I pretty much, when I went full time into Host GPO, split up my business and sold off a huge chunk of my units. So I am pretty much full time focused on this, but I have units still, a dozen or so.
Well, take me back to the, because everybody sees the game. They want to get in, and I've got some jokes around hanging out with people in Costa Rica and stuff about, you meet the guy who told you wanted 200 units, and then you meet him 6 months later and I'm like, how many units do you want? He's like, 10, I'm good. Like why, because everybody sells online, they sell the profitability. Like what was the kind of the thought process behind like starting a business in the space, which is totally different?
I think I kind of fell into it really, really fast because I had a really unique business model 8 years ago. And my first 20, 30 units were extremely profitable. And I think as I continued to scale and grow, each unit was less profitable than the one before, but still profitable. And then the industry kind of caught up. And so at some point between regulations, between the state of the industry, et cetera, I think, you have to build out your infrastructure and keep pivoting. And it just, it became a much bigger, I think I bit off a lot more than I could chew at the beginning. And then, you just kind of race to catch up. But I loved the hustle of it all. And I loved the beautiful chaos of 150 guests messaging you with, questions and stuff. I love figuring out problems. And, that's just always been something that's that I've liked.
I'm really gonna freak people out. From a guy who has a fund to buy short-term rentals and a management company and teaches people, guys, I only care about one thing. I love the clients that I hang out with in their amazing houses. When they're like, hey, you want to come up to Whitefish Lake in Montana and hang out for the day, for the weekend on me? Yeah, I do. Hey, you want to come 100%. Down to Florida? Hey, you want to talk about doing an Airbnb in Mexico and Portugal? Yeah, I want to do all that stuff. That's great. But I also got asked this last week. If you could start any business in the short-term rental business, what would you do? And I surprised them because I said, I start a cleaning company. And it's amazing how when you get down the road, because what they don't see is the cleaning company would be the way in the door from a management, from a consulting, everything. Because I spent my whole life looking at Airbnbs, and I could run through Central Texas. And the amount of quality Airbnbs from San Antonio to Austin, and the shitty pictures and the dark drapes, like it ain't hard to be better, but people are getting very creative now, and people are really starting to think. But moreover, this is what nobody talks about either. When I started and you started, the quality of traveler or what they knew about Airbnb was very nuanced. These people now, they're very skilled. They see everything. We've created a higher level stayer,
which is great because doing that has expanded the amount of travelers overall, right? When we were 7-8 years ago, we had a lot of like younger millennials, techies who were traveling around, and they didn't really care as much if they showed up in the unit, like didn't have shampoo or, whatever it was. Nowadays you have it's become more commonplace and more mainstream. And, my, parents and grandparents, like there are different types of people traveling whose expectations are just higher, and they're comparing it, and price wise, they're comparing it to hotels because that's where it's really booking out at. And rightfully so. I mean,
the scary thing is, you talk to all my boys who are in the game a long time. Guess where we stay at? Hotels.
Yeah. I told somebody the other day, they were like, do you ever stay in Airbnbs? And my gut response was, if they have an Instagram, probably. Like, like if they care enough that they're like really curating the space and like making an Instagram about it, like that's an indicator for me that like I should probably keep looking more into it and like make sure. But I'm the psychopath that like reads through every, 30 reviews. And like, I know what I'm seeing. I know when it's a guest that's like leaving a bad review, but like I want to see what's there. And I'm looking at that stuff. I'm looking at your ratings.
Well, for me, it's not why. It's that, man, the fees to stay have gotten out of control. The fees are a lot. The other thing with the Instagram is I can usually direct book, which I love to do. I love to support vacation rental hosts by direct booking. No knock on Airbnb and VRBO, but like that's where everybody's heading, and I think they know that too. And I think that's good for the industry overall. But I have trust issues when I go travel in vacation rental units. I like staying at Host GPO member units because I know what I'm getting a little bit more, but like I try to really make sure that the person whose unit I'm staying in is somebody that actually like cares and is paying attention to what it is. And I personally think that smaller, in general, giant management companies have a tougher time keeping quality control high. So 100%. One of the things that I miss that COVID kind of ran through, and hopefully we're back to where it's a thing. I love to stay in rooms. Like when you meet the host or like you're staying in their house, like
100%.
I've always had anybody that's willing to let human beings in their house is normally great. I'm sure there's bad experiences out there, but I would meet the most amazing people and support them because they don't get booked as much and stuff like that. So yeah, we could go off forever about this, but walk me through kind of what the company does, why it's a value add to Airbnb guests, because man, it is a nightmare right now to design, to get supply chain issues, all those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nightmare, especially as you scale too. And so Host GPO, GPO stands for Group Purchasing Organization. And we didn't make up GPOs. I mean, they exist in other industries, in pharmaceuticals and in healthcare and all this stuff. So a GPO is a buying group. So what we've done is we've collected professional vacation rental hosts and management companies in the space. And we have negotiated deals with furniture companies, linen companies, mattress companies, amenity companies, so that once you're a part of our group, you're able to buy from those companies at either discounted pricing, access products that aren't available to the general public, access, better terms or customer support or whatever it is for each of those companies. And we partner with brands like West Elm, Pottery Barn, Rugs USA, Standard Textile, Brooklinen, Helix Mattresses, Public Goods. I mean, we partner with real brands that have quality products that, between all of our members, we have over 200,000 units between all of our members. So these are the brands that our members want to buy from. They're the brands that we use, that I've used in my places, and they're known brands that sell quality commercial grade products that are going to last, that can go through the wear and tear. And with our kind of, discounted pricing, it's anywhere from 30 to, 70, 75% off. It really brings the costs down to whatever else you would find on like an Amazon or on at a Costco or something like that. You're getting better quality products at, those prices or lower. And again, like we can get into it a little bit more, but that's the main idea. Like, to be able to leverage the group's buying power to collectively go and get these deals from the vendors that we think make the most sense for the space.
So if I came to you and I said, man, I got a 14-room hotel. Yep. I need to furnish 2 beds apiece, blah, blah, blah. Like that's just something that y'all could plug in and make happen because you're handling it over the thing, right? And there's a real conversation that I've had with Zenith Mattress where I was like, hey, I might need 100 mattresses.
Good luck.
Yeah. Right. And so like, the thing that I'm seeing and something that I've implemented recently, and it's, I almost might get emotional here, is that my old assistant who runs an Airbnb company started a setup company where they come in and set up the furniture for you. Cause I put together about 90 units myself. And if I ever put together a dresser again, it changed my life. No, thank you. And man, when you start putting the pieces like a company like yours, a setup guy, you really get to a place where you can go set up 10 units. I remember, I could tell you like it was yesterday. I set up 7 units in 5 days in 3 states. Yeah, and I was doing all the listings myself. I cried in a car for an hour and a half. It was like my breaking point. And so, but now we've created these things where if you're getting into the space, remember this, quality matters, the home matters, and it starts with the furniture. It starts with the feel when you get in. And so like when you're sourcing this stuff, light, bright, airy, professional, pops of color, like from the traditional brands is probably going to lend you a top dollar, right? I don't know if y'all run data on it, but I would imagine that it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, ultimately, we're talking about 7, 8 years ago, and I'm a big believer that more than anything else, we're photographers. We sell photography first, right? That's how you're going to get people into the listing. But ultimately, when they show up and touch the table or sit in a chair or sit on the couch, it needs to feel like what it looks like if you're trying to command those prices. So, when people have that accuracy rating on Airbnb or whatever, VRBO, like that's really based on what I saw in the pictures. Does it feel like that when I got there? And, a lot of this like fake wood, fake kind of like, Wayfair, Amazon furniture, like that stuff doesn't feel great and it's going to break after, not a lot of use. So the idea is, and I'm the same way. I set up 18 units in like, it was like 8 days or 9 days, and they were all next to each other. And I had a full breakdown. And the thing that got me, by the way, which you'll probably really appreciate, is I realized after that the power wasn't on in like one of the whole strips of like one of the buildings. And I was like, oh shoot, like I'll call. And I went to go call and they were like, oh yeah, we can be out in like 3 weeks. And I'm like, I just busted for, 10 days to get this unit up and running. And I got to wait another, week and a half just to get the power on, because like, that's how long it takes for them to turn it on. So yeah, anyways, I've built
hold on. So same time I cried. Long story. We were taking whatever we could back then. I'll save some details of this story, but let's just say it wasn't in the most desirable area. Okay.
Sure.
I flew out. I get to the units. They're like half done. Like I'm not a fucking property management guy in an apartment. The toilets were atrocious, right? I can't get anybody on the phone. The guy we're doing it for. I can't get the property manager. She's like, fuck you, like crazy shit, right? So I go to Home Depot and I buy new toilets. I install them myself. I buy the grates, like everything, right? Got the cheapest deal I could on toilets, but it looked nice. Everything was good. We went back to the guy and he said, sorry, you never approved it with me. You're going to have to eat that cost.
What a nightmare. Yeah.
And you know what we did? True story. We did all that and we pulled the plug.
Yeah.
I said, look, guys, I'm not putting my company's reputation on these places because it's not safe. I'm out. And we just pulled it.
Not to mention, if that's where you're starting with the guy that you're working with, you're not ending anywhere better than that. So,
but understand that as a business owner and a new person, I didn't vet the expectations of what was needed of me, right? And so vice versa. And so when somebody's coming into your thing, let's say they have a couple Airbnbs. Let's say they went out and they normally go to thrift stores or Amazon or whatever. What can they expect, or what's the kind of the caveat, the added value that you're going to bring to them with somebody that's looking to scale that should entertain bringing you in?
I mean, look, ultimately, we're not really we have a design pilot program that we're running right now where we can also help with the design, but ultimately it's a marketplace. Once you join us, you're doing the purchasing yourself. You log into the portal. it's kind of like a Costco membership where you go to a Costco and you're buying from all these brands at like the discounted pricing. It's just specifically geared towards short-term rental. So the way that it would work is, let's say that you were setting up, a new house, a 4 or 5 bedroom house, or a bunch of units, like you were saying. One of the reasons why we partner with West Elm and Pottery Barn and the Williams-Sonoma brands is that you can order $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 worth of furniture, and you pay a flat rate installation fee of $249, and they're going to build all the furniture for you. So you're getting it at a discounted price, and they're going to build it and install it for you and put the bed on the 3rd floor and put the couch in the other room. That alone, that time savings alone is already going to cut beyond whatever, the price is already comparable to
you have delivery and put together. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that, we try to help educate people about, this is what's available through these brands. And then, the other things are things like, standardizing and putting, everybody talks about SOPs and having these procedures in place so that you can actually order, like standard textile is a great example of this. So you want to be ordering linens that are not rated well on Amazon because people are using them in their home, but are actually commercial grade linens that are the ones that Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, like the big hotel chains use. And the reason why is they're always going to be in stock. You're never going to have to run around and try to find them again. You're going to end up, if you do it the other way, grabbing a sheet from Target and grabbing a sheet from Costco, and ultimately you're going to end up with like a cream pillowcase and a white duvet cover and a off-white linen set, and it's going to look really messy. Whereas here you're getting, you can order pre-laundered sheets, so you don't have to do the first however many loads of laundry. If you're setting up 10 units or 5 units, you keep them in inventory. That's an option. A color coordinated thread system. So that on the inside, this is what hotels use. On the inside of the sheets, there's a thread that's red for queens and green for kings. And so your cleaning company knows oh, this is a red one. I got to put a red one on here. Or that type of, there's no hemline. So the sheets go on both ways. That type of time saving and also just standardization is going to allow you to reorder and get quality products at, this type of pricing on an ongoing basis. The same thing with, a bunch of the other brands, the mattresses, rugs, right? Rugs USA is a great example too. Everybody that's been in the space for 7-8 years knows if your rug gets really dirty and you call somebody to come clean it, they're going to shampoo it and it's going to look okay, but it's not going to look new. And the cost that at least out here in Southern California, the cost to shampoo the rug is pretty dang close to just getting a new one through Host GPO at the discounted rate that we get. And so a lot of the time, that's what people end up doing is, you end up replacing it. So these are the things that we've standardized. We partner with these types of brands to put them on because they offer, installation and delivery. They offer pre-laundered sheets that are commercial grade quality. They, those are the things that really matter in the space. And so we've really geared our partnerships towards those brands.
And the number one thing that we're doing $2 million houses out in the Smokies right now. Probably be there in 2 weeks, full remodels, almost rebuilding the house. And my number one issue with people is, especially designers, is that I've tried to tell the investors they don't listen to me. I need a property that's sleek and stylish, but functional. It's you buy the wrong rug, yes. And it's all ruffled up and the cleaner's chips or toe, or the guest trips. I heard one of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got or gave to anybody. Remember that everything that you put in your property, if it's not making you money, then it's a possible problem for said guests. Everybody says, man, pool table would be amazing until you lose the chalk every guest.
I mean, I had a pool table. I had a pool table located in a pool house in one of my properties. And I didn't think about the fact, do you know how many times people took the chalk and kids that would stay in the house and threw it in the jacuzzi? And the amount of costs of cleaning the jacuzzi out from the chalk would explode. And anyways, you never think about that kind of stuff beforehand. I'm really a ping pong table would have been much better there. But, you have to think through those kinds of things. But the other thing when you're talking about designers and being functional is short-term rental design is very different than residential design. And so unless you're working with somebody who understands the short-term rental or hospitality space, you're going to end up with things that make no sense, like 3 rooms that have full beds. Like nobody puts full beds in your units because you can only say that it sleeps 1 person. So when your maximum occupancy, when you're on your listing, if you have, 4 bedrooms and 3 of them are fulls and 1's a king, that's only 5 people. Where, you could have been sleeping 8. And so those, that's going to lower your overall bookings and costs, and where you show up in search results. Nobody puts full beds, like unless you absolutely have to. You're better off putting 2 twins or a queen. And so working with a designer that knows what they're doing. And for you, for your property in the Smokies, Austin, we have through Host GPO a partnership with Williams-Sonoma where we're doing a design pilot program. And so the idea is if you're setting up a new house, and there's some restrictions like you have to have like an 8-week timeline, you have to have $15,000 plus budget to get going. But if you're doing those things,
that won't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean it's really just
no, mine's a 6'6". So
yeah, okay, great. Perfect. So yeah, this is really meant for larger properties, but we can work with the Williams-Sonoma team and set you up with a corporate level designer that knows that we've worked with to coach on things like what is short-term rental specific, what types of contract grade furniture make sense, how important timelines are and things like that. And then they will do the interior design for you for free. And because it's Williams-Sonoma, you can cross-brand between Pottery Barn, West Elm, Williams-Sonoma, Rejuvenation, Pottery Barn Kids. Like they have 8 brands, right? And so they'll do the design across those brands, do the layout for you, do the mood board. You can send them the things that you want it to look like, et cetera. They'll give you the layout, give you the designs, and then you don't have to buy everything through them. So what a lot of our members do is, for linens or mattresses or things like that, they're getting them through, some of our other vendors who, we have kind of better solutions, but you can't really beat West Elm or Williams-Sonoma for like either kitchen stuff or just contract grade furniture. Anyways, they do the interior design for you for free. And then if you want, there's an ability to have an installation level where they will actually, when the items get delivered, the boxes are side marked. You could even have the designer there doing the install for you and like running because one half of that battle, like, is building the furniture. The second half of it is you got 6 and 6. You've got so much stuff coming in, knowing which room to send everything to and inspecting all the stuff when it gets there. And all that's like a whole day of just project management.
I would literally pay them just to show up and do that so I could see that process. That's how crazy. Yeah. Like
you should, look, you should do it for this property. I mean, we've done, since we piloted it, I don't know, maybe 200-300 of these. And overall they've been tremendous successes. So it's a really cool kind of way to get free interior design services and also, have somebody help run your installation for you if that's what's important.
Yeah. And there's so much. And guys, it's very simple and we'll leave it at this. I told my partner, I said, anytime that you and I are picking out light fixtures and pillows, we ain't doing our job.
That's right. Because the truth is, as many units as I've done myself, which I probably set up over 250 alone myself, I am a terrible interior designer.
Well, we're not getting properties because that's really the only thing that matters. We're not raising money. We're not getting properties.
Yeah, and it's exactly your best use of your time is figuring out how to do this again if it's working.
Well, what's interesting, and what I'm looking to do, right, in every one of my businesses is I don't need you to replace me, but I need you to understand my decision-making processes, right? Yeah. I need you to see, right? This is kind of our kind of pitch to the way we look at it. I'm all about the cabin feel. I am. Don't get me wrong. I love the whole Smoky Mountains and it's on the wood and all that stuff, but it hurts my eyes. And so we're going to take the cabin feel on the outside, but bring it modern on the inside. And now we've kind of placed ourselves in kind of the next people that will come visit. And that's something that can last a lifetime instead of, so there's very thought out.
The log furniture, like the actual log bed frames, those things are more expensive than an industrial reclaimed wood, beautiful Pottery Barn bed, which makes no sense. And they're terrible. They're terrible. They look terrible.
No, listen. This is an amazing podcast, but I have never shared this story ever. And I'm going to share it because you are a veteran, and there is no chance that you believe what's about to come out of my mouth or even know where I'm going. Okay. And I gotta share it because it's going to blow you away, and you'll be telling all your friends. Okay. I worked 2 jobs when I had 3 Airbnbs. I cleaned them all myself, like literally worked 70 hours a week in one, was a sales guy at another job, traveled once a month to conventions. And I was cleaning all the 3 units myself at 4 a.m., 10 o'clock at night. People, like, I thought I was saving myself money. That's for another podcast. So long story short, I had a break in between work. I had my biggest guest ever. Like, it was $3,000 for like 6 days. Spring break, 7 people. I mean, I was so money. Like, that month, I made like $25,000 that month. It was crazy, right? Spring break, Texas, conventions. So as I'm making up the last bed in the master, I hear the loudest boom. Like, it was like a holy fuck boom. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what that was. And I'm like, I think I should stop. So like, I slam the sheet on, I throw the comforter over real quick, and I walk outside. And my house was on the corner, and it was raining, and somebody had drove through my fence. They literally tore my fence. There was bricks. Wait, I even got to the part that matters. So this is bad enough. So my neighbor comes running out. He's like, I filmed it. I was like, what do I do? And I called my other neighbor that helped me. And I said, hey, just like pick up this shit. So we started like picking everything up, throwing it behind the garage. There was like bricks and shit just everywhere. The yard was ruined, but there was no fence. So they didn't have a dog. So it's not like it was the fence, and then you could walk up to my house. And so that's bad enough. I'll fix it when they get done. And I texted them. I said, look, guys, I'm sorry. This is the situation. The fence broke. They go, look, we don't have dogs. We're cool. We're on the plane. It's not a big deal. Okay. Boom. We're good. They check in. I go to bed. I wake up at 5 a.m. to start my workout. And I have 21 missed calls and like 15 texts. And it started out with, I can't believe you did this. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Like, it was like sending me pictures and like, go fuck you. And I'm like, I don't understand. I couldn't understand what was going on. Like, I saw the pictures, but nothing comprehended. I finally get the guy on the phone, and he is just dying laughing. Like, he is like losing. It's the host of the group. Asian guy from San Francisco. He is chuckling like I've never heard somebody. And then all of a sudden I hear behind him, is that son of a bitch? Like, and she gets on the phone and she's like, you are the biggest piece of shit. I know you're doing this shit on purpose, Papa. And I'm like, I still don't understand what is going on.
Stop yelling at me.
Are you ready? The guest before this was from England. It was on homeaway.com. They had a 2-year-old. Right before they left, the 2-year-old peed in the bed. And right at that moment, when I was pulling the sheets over, that's where the stain was. And when I pulled it over, the car hit at that time, so I wasn't paying attention. So she flew all day in her Armani suit, went to go relax, and sat in pee. Okay. So that's my first realization. Okay. Uh-huh. That's my first one. I had to work that day. And I'm like, what the fuck do I do? And so I got somebody to cover my shift. And I was like, look. I don't even know what to say. I'm actually not going to say anything because it's not worth it. It doesn't even fucking matter. I said, I'm going to fix this. Yeah. I said, I'm going to get you. She goes, you're going to get me new sheets? I said, no. I'm getting you new everything. New mattress, new pillows, new everything. So then I get, while I rented a freaking U-Haul, I go to the furniture warehouse store. I'm calling the previous guest and I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? I was like, do you understand what you did? By the way, their thing was like $2,000 too. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You have to tell me. If you told me I could have fixed it, it's not a big deal. Okay. So I walk in, I am fuming. I'm like, I've got the thing. I've got $500 cash in my pocket. I got my credit card. I looked at the person who I bought a bunch of furniture and I said, listen, I need you to do something for me. This is where it gets a little, I hate to tell this part of myself. I said, can you make me an invoice for a $750 bed? And she goes, you know it. And so she writes me an invoice. I picked up a couch, chairs, 2 mattresses, new sheets, everything. I come out, like, look, we're going to be gone all day. Okay. So I drive in, I throw everything in the back of the U-Haul, new, the whole
Everything.
thing was new, everything. My ex-wife is with me at the front door and I'm bringing the last thing in, and up pulls a cab, and it's the lady, and I got to face her, and I'm
like cringing.
I got like $450 in my pocket, and I'm like, I just have it out like this, and she looks at me and she goes, look, I don't want your fucking money. She goes, I'm sorry, it was a long day. I thought you did it on purpose. She goes, did you fix the sheets? And I go, no. I didn't fix the sheets. I fixed everything. Okay. And she's like, okay. So then 2 days pass. They're supposed to be out at 10. I go in there at 10:45. I'm literally shaking, and I walk in thinking I'm going to go clean, and everybody's still in the house working at the table. And I'm like, ugh. And they just start dying laughing. And they're like, he's like, oh, she said and pee, like, haha. 5-star review. Brand new couch, brand new table. Save my $400 and got my money.
There you go.
Tell me, but dude, those are things that I can't make up.
No.
But if you would have just told me, it wouldn't have affected the previous guest.
These are the stories. This is how you learn. You live, you learn. Like there's,
There was so much victory in getting a 5-star review from that. I can't even tell you. That propelled me for the next 3 years.
The ones that it's the ones that you turn around where you're like, there's no way I can fix this. And then you do.
I will tell you this, and I figured it out because I teach people to do Airbnb, and I'm consulting VAs to kind of do customer service. What they can't teach you is I have seen so many messages like you have. I've studied the psychology behind it. I can pretty much tell you word for word what the guest is going to reply back. 100%. And my business partner goes, there's no chance you know what they're going to say. I go, they're going to say this. And he's like, oh my God, how do you know that? I know the psychology behind how to play around and what they want is they want to be heard.
Exactly. That's it. And it's amazing. I'm the same way. I see a message, the first one come in, and it's about this. And I'm like, oh, they're really upset about that. Like, oh, they're talking about this thing. And they don't even care about that. Like they really just care because because the cleaner was leaving when they got there and like, they don't feel like the place is clean or like whatever, like all the little things, they saw the cleaner. And so like, it really ruined everything for them. Like, like that's what they really care about. You
know what? That's actually a good point. I've thought about it, but I haven't thought about it in a long time. Making sure that your cleaners are they look professional and presentable.
Have to. Yeah. And you run into some issues because I used to, I wanted to have my cleaners wearing, like uniforms almost, but they couldn't be, I didn't want them wearing my uniforms because they wouldn't work for my company. They were independent contractors and I didn't want to worry about them being, employees wearing our uniforms. So we had, we asked them to like wear shirts that like said the name of their own company on it. But it made a big difference.
Love it, man. So if people want to find out about the website, they want to find out, how would they do that?
Yeah. So Host GPO, HostGPO.com. HostGPO.com, head over. Because this is a public setting, all of our deals are confidential. So I actually can't talk about the specifics. I can't say you're going to get 50% off this brand or 60% off that brand. But we do have a 3-month free trial. So when you sign up, there's no commitment. You'll be able to log in. You'll be able to see the deals. You'll be able to place orders and try it out and see if it's a good fit for you. It's pretty much a good fit for everybody. We have like a super low cancellation or non-renewal rate. So we'd love for you to join our community. And once you sign up, you'll schedule an onboarding call where you'll talk to somebody from Host GPO, one of our team members, and they'll walk you through how the portal works, answer any questions that you have, get you set up with some free samples of things if you want, and help learn a little bit about how we can help your business and help you scale what you're doing. So look forward to kind of welcoming your group to Host GPO, and thanks again for having me.
I appreciate it, guys. And reach out to me if you have any questions. Happy to answer them. Send this to somebody that'll get some value from it. And we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.